Live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask an Engineer. It's me, Ladyada, the engineer. With me, Mr. Ladyada, who looks pretty good today. He does.
There was the comment section in the previous one. They're like, look, that guy looks like Danzig or something like that.
Looks some other guy. Anyway, I don't know.
I'm not, yeah.
It's Winter Soldier, Johnny
I
Depp,
took a shower.
Jack White. You took a shower. Anyways,
It's been a day.
We've both taken showers, and we're ready for a full hour of the latest news and updates from the maker, hacker, creator, engineer community. We've got a jam-packed show with lots of facts and videos and products and RetroTech and more. So let's get right to it. Mr. Ladyada, what's on tonight's show?
That's right. On tonight's show is two-fact. We're going to be talking about two-factor authentication and what we're doing to make sure you get all the products that you want during this incredible shortage of all things electronic. Talk about some of our live shows that we do, including Show and Tell, which we just did. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. What's going on? Some really cool retro tech stuff. From the mailbag, that's when we're going to be talking about some changes we made with accounts and how we handle two-factor authentication, specifically right now for Raspberry Pi orders, like I was saying. Some main New York City factory footage, 3D printing, Ion MPI, new products, top secret. We answer your questions. You can ask them throughout the show, but we do that mostly at the end of the show. Join all 33,000 of us. I think it's 34,000 now, but 33,000 of us
We can round it up. It's
over at Discord, Adafruit.it/Discord, or discord.gg/Adafruit. We get to all of them at the end for sure. All that and more on, you guessed it,
Dun, dun, dun.
Ask an Engineer. Okay, so before we get started with the show this week, going to get serious because there's a lot of things going on in the world, and we've been doing this show for almost 15 years, and every time something's going on, we talk to our team, we talk to our friends who do activism, or people who are interested in world peace, or all the things that we think that can maybe help everyone come together, build things, and, you know, make society better. So right now there's a humanitarian crisis going on in the Ukraine, and I thought I would just tell kind of a personal story. So after Ladyada and I met, I said, hey, when we go to Japan, because we wanted to go to Japan together, I want to take you to Hiroshima because I went there when I was younger, and I've been there a couple times, been there a few times, and it had a really big impact on me. So we went to the Peace Park in Hiroshima, and it's a really beautiful place, but it's because something happened. So on August 6th and August 9th, nuclear bombs were dropped. My birthday is August 9th, so every single year there's a reminder, and my uncle was born on August 6th. And so every single year I think about what happened and my time that I was in Hiroshima, and my dad was in the nuclear energy field. So this is something that's been with me for a long time. And I said, let's go to this Peace Park because I really wish everyone could visit it. You see things there that I wish every world leader experienced it. You walk through these exhibits, there's artifacts from when the bomb was dropped. And so one of the things that had a big impact on me was this pocket watch. It's forever stopped at 8:15 from August 6th. And if you think about it, that time stopped. A bomb went off, people died. A children's little tricycle, forever frozen in this moment, a reminder of what happened, the destructive power of the atom. And the thing that really hit me and why I wanted to talk about this is there was this picture, and there has the translations, and I'm going to zoom in a second, and it says, a person sitting on the steps to the bank, outside the bank, waiting for it to open, was exposed to the flash from the atomic bomb explosion, received the rays directly. The victim must have died on the spot, and basically the spot that they were sitting is a shadow forever. And they have the piece of the building right there, and you can see where the person was sitting, eating their sandwich, bomb went off, and that was the end of them. And what's happening in the news right now, I don't know what we can do as an electronics company to encourage peace and people talk together. There's enough nuclear weapons for the world to kill itself over. So with what's going on in the Ukraine, the president of the Ukraine went on video tonight, talked in English. I'm going to play that. It's just a minute and a half clip in a second. But he's basically asking people, show your support for peace. And one of the things that we thought about is, well, we could maybe help get some information to the people in Russia. Governments do things, but the people that don't want war are usually the population. They just want to go back to their normal lives. Everyone wants to raise families and have peace. It seems like that's a human thing. So what we did on our website is we have a section, adafruit.com/Russia, and we opened up a little hole in our firewall. And if you're from Russia, because our site's not banned there, you can get information about the QuickX offline reader for Wikipedia. It looks like Wikipedia is not going to be allowed, so there's a downloadable version of Wikipedia right now. According to their stats, this open source organization that does this, Russia is the #1 downloader of the reader and the 46 gigabyte file of Wikipedia without pictures. You can get the one with 86 gigabytes, but the one with 46 gigabytes is the one that's getting downloaded. Tor is officially blocked by the Russian government right now, so we have links to the Tor mirrors so people can get information. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger put out a message, and we have the English version, the video that can be downloaded through some of the blocks from Russia, and then the translation. And it's a story about how someone from Russia impacted him, getting the information out. And this isn't a choosing side thing, it's just getting information out to folks and allowing access. Right now, the Russian people are cut off. They don't know what's going on. And if there's going to be a peaceful solution, it might take the Russian population to do it. So you'll probably see this video that's going around shortly. There's a call for peace tomorrow because it's been 1 month since Ukraine was invaded by Putin's army. So I'm going to show a little clip of it. You can go to the section on our website. We're talking to people who formerly worked at the State Department, who do this as a form of activism, people like the EFF. We're just trying to figure out what can Adafruit do, because a hashtag and changing our logo probably isn't the only thing that we can do. We'll do that too, but we wanted to get some of the information out. So this is the little message that we saw floating around. Every evening, the president of the Ukraine addresses the nation. Tonight, for the first time, he did it in English, calling on people everywhere to show solidarity. Come out of your offices and homes, show your support for the Ukrainian people. So I'm going to play a clip of this, and then we'll resume our regularly scheduled programming.
The war of Russia is not only the war against Ukraine. Its meaning is much wider. Russia started the war against freedom as it is. This is only the beginning for Russia on the Ukrainian land. Russia is trying to defeat the freedom of all people in Europe, of all the people in the world. It tries to show that only crude and cruel force matters. It tries to show that people do not matter, as well as everything else that make us people. That's the reason we all must stop Russia. The world must stop the war. I thank everyone who acts in support of Ukraine, in support of freedom, but the war continues. The acts of terror against peaceful people go on. 1 month already. That long. It breaks my hearts of all Ukrainians and every free person on the planet. That's why I ask you to stand against the war, starting from March 24th, exactly 1 month after the Russian invasion. From this day and after then, show your standing. Come from your offices, your homes, your schools and universities. Come in the name of peace. Come with Ukrainian symbols to support Ukraine, to support freedom, to support life. Come to your squares, your streets. Make yourselves visible and heard. Say that people matter, freedom matters, peace matters, Ukraine matters. From March 24th, in downtowns of your cities, all as one together who want to stop the war.
Okay, and we appreciate the patience and support as we try to figure out a way to use our platform to get the information to the people in Russia who are currently cut off, people that can do something, whether just showing your support on social media or marching in the streets. I think we all agree the world is a better place in peace versus war. I'd really like to build something with people in different countries and be able to feel like there's a future for all of us where we can all come together. So anyways, we now resume our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, Ladyada, let's talk about what's on tonight's show.
Okay.
So the code is two-fact, and that's because we're going to be talking about our two-factor authentication stuff. But as people put stuff in their cart, they get free things.
That's right. We have, in addition to the code, you also get free stuff when you order from Adafruit.com. $99 or more, you get a free Permaproto half-size breadboard, great for making your projects from a solderless breadboard permanent. $149 or more, you get a free Stemma QT board. We have a selection of about a dozen different boards that are in stock. If you make an account, we'll send you a different one each time. And then $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. It's trackable, it's insured, it's reliable, it's UPS brand.
Okay, we do a bunch of live shows, like 5 or 6 a week. We do a lot of live shows.
A lot of shows,
Yeah.
We do like 3.
We do. We like it. You know why we like it? Because the people. That's why you do it. If there was nobody watching, you know what the most important thing about all of our live shows?
Yeah.
The community and audience.
If they weren't watching, why would be really weird.
Yeah.
We could do it, but I don't think it would be fun.
Sometimes we get asked, like, what camera setup have? What sound thing do you have? What's the most important thing in a live show? The community.
That's right.
So
you make it happen. The fans.
So thank you.
Okay.
So we just finished up the show and tell
Check it out. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Synthesizers.
with the Raspberry Pi.
Computing machines.
Yeah.
Simulators.
3D printed covers for graphic novels. We're going to show that tonight.
Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah. And then
3D Raspberry Pi glasses.
Matt the Maker came by. I haven't seen him in a bit, and he showed this really cool Raspberry Pi W glasses that recognizes faces and then puts overlays on top of them.
Yeah,
Super
it's cool stuff.
Okay,
Very cyber.
On Sundays, we usually do Desk of Ladyada. We have 2 parts. What was part 1 of Desk of Ladyada this week?
Well, I showed off some samples, and I also showed off that we recently revised the ESP32 S2 Feather, and I did a little bit of a trick on the last panel that we put through the oven. I pulled off the S2 module and I put on the S3 module because it's actually pin compatible, and then I designed a tester for the S3 Feather, and it works great, and Arduino recently added support for the S3. In a branch of the Arduino ESP32 board support package. So you'll be seeing a ESP32 S3 QT Py and Feather in the shop later this month or in April.
Okay, and then we do one of our more popular segments now from the Desk of Ladyada, and it's because well,
you can get parts.
yeah, the Great Search is now like kind of the show because you have to be able to find it.
Yeah.
So what was the Great Search this week?
I'm trying to remember actually.
We've been doing a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm totally spacing out. What was the Great Search? Can you zoom into it?
Yeah, I can zoom in. You want?
Sorry. Usually I can remember.
Let it fly by.
It was. Oh right, it was a 16-bit DAC. Right.
That's right. This is why we have this. By the way, we had
It's been a day.
we had a day today. If I were to tell you what happened today,
You wouldn't believe us.
yeah, it
okay.
was a tough day.
Let me go back
but
to
we're here.
16-bit DAC. So somebody emailed and they're like, well, you have 16-bit ADCs in the store that are I2C, but wouldn't it be cool if you had a 16-bit DAC? And there are some times when you need them. They're not cheap, but there are a couple available. I showed 2 different ones. I think neither are actually in stock, but they look like they will be stocked in the next few months. So if you want an I2C 16-bit analog output, we were thinking of designing a Stemma QT board, then check out the Great Search.
Okay. On Tuesdays, we have JP's product pick, and that's when we broadcast live on a product page. The discount's automatically applied, and you can interact with our team, JP, purchase the product that you are watching, and you don't even have to put in a discount code. So here's this week's highlight from JP's product pick. Take it away, JP.
It is the right angle lux sensor, VEML 7700 with Stemma QT. This one has the sensor mounted parallel to the board instead of perpendicular to the board, which means you can fit this in some tiny little areas. Since this is mounted at this angle, I should be able to stick this inside of my little box here, and you'll notice it's just peeking out right there. You can disable that LED, by the way. So it's just peeking out there, and we're getting, just from my ambient lighting in the room, about 35 lux. And as I put my hand over that, it gets pretty dark, down to 1. So you could use this for detecting objects, particularly for things like security things, puzzles, escape room stuff. I always like things like that, magic tricks, if you want to have it mounted fairly discreetly. The right angle lux sensor with Stemma QT.
Okay, and JP's workshop is tomorrow, Thursday, and here's a little bit of a preview of one of the things that JP was showing off.
It was like basically like a modem, like the beeps and the tones.
How exactly was that possible? That's really cool.
I am now a sample.
Yeah. Everyone will have their 15 megabytes of fame. Okay, so time travel. Let's look around in the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. First, a little bit of an update. Thank you so much for your patience during this insane supply chain part shortage. We are doing AdaBox. We will never stop doing AdaBox, but it is now the winter spring edition. So we are combining holidays, much like Planet Earth is starting to combine holidays and seasons. So this is winter spring edition because we just can't get all the stuff. But once we do, you'll get the notification. You can always decide not to have your box shipped. We don't charge credit cards until your box is shipped. So it's going to be a great box. We just need stuff to arrive and be able to manufacture, and we're getting closer.
Not have lockdowns constantly all over the world.
There was a lockdown in Shenzhen. Some of the stuff got hung up. There was a malware attack in the port of Seattle where a bunch of stuff goes through. That's resolved. You name it, everything's kind of happening all at once. I've told this story before, but I saw this video of there was a fireworks display, and they set it up wrong. Instead of the fireworks going off over the course of 3 hours, it went off all at once. It was spectacular. However, fireworks probably shouldn't be enjoyed in 5 seconds. You should probably space them a little bit between. It's very exciting, the world of electronics right now, but it's all happening at once.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah.
Is that happening
by
at
all happening at once, like every crisis you can imagine.
Yeah.
Is that the plural? Crisis?
Crises. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, let's do some mailbag.
It's Packet, the mailbag.
Yeah, mailbag's a little different this week, and I'll tell you why. So it's different because I think we did a hug report type thing, or we did a like, oh, here's what's going on. So this is from a bot, and this is from a human, and I'll pop over to this in a second. So we added two-factor authentication to all the purchases for Raspberry Pis because there's none, and when we put them in stock, people were using automated bots and tools to try to buy up all of them using different addresses, different names, creating accounts, and it wasn't fair to all the customers. So we tried lots of things, and we have many layers of checks and balances, but one of the things that helped the most was having two-factor authentication. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the feedback we got, and this is from the person who made one of the Twitter bots, it's friendly bots, just letting people know when things are in stock. That's a wrap. Thank you for all the messages and support I've been getting. It keeps me motivated to keep the project going. So this bot on Twitter helps people find it. And then as we were watching this over the last few weeks, people would say if they got one or not. And before, they weren't able to because there was a lot of automated tools. So a person says, I got one. You demand. I finally was sitting at my PC when a notification came in. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know how long it's been taken to get my hands on a Pi. Warms my heart. Have an account, made the two-factor authentication advanced, so close, lesson learned. Thank you so much for this, Adafruit, for implementing two-factor authentication and giving humans a fighting chance. I was able to secure the Raspberry Pi I needed for my upcoming project and now can safely turn off notifications. So it looks like this worked out. A little tough. There was lots of interesting feedback on places like Hacker News. Let the market decide, my lady.
And why don't you just do this thing? And it's like that
Yeah.
thing you just came up with is actually not a just thing to
Yeah,
do.
so-
Well, you can go into the FAQ if you
Yeah,
want.
so what I wanted to do is just talk about, like, here's what we're doing. And go ahead and start asking questions in Discord right now if you want. But Ladyada,
But we have a FAQ
we have a fact. And
that I wrote today.
yeah, with the help of the team, Ladyada wrote this.
Okay.
And so why don't you go through it, and you could scroll. But
Well,
I'm
do you want the text to be on the screen too? Or?
No, well, so the text is not going to be readable.
That's true. Okay, I'll just.
But if you want,
No.
But if you want, I can. See, it's not that readable.
Okay, you're right.
But why don't you go ahead and,
Okay.
and scroll as needed, and I'll put the link in the chat right now.
I'm back writer. Okay, so first off, for the people who just tuned in, we're now requiring verified accounts with two-factor authentication enabled in order to purchase certain high-demand products such as Raspberry Pi computers, that's Pi 4s, Pi 0s, due to a large number of bot purchasers making it difficult for makers and engineers to order these products. So please make sure before you get the notification for Raspberry Pis that you have verified your Adafruit accounts. We know you have a valid email. That's not just like the verified email is actually not just for bots. It's actually because we couldn't get in touch with some people to like tell them, hey, there's a delay or an issue with your order. So we want to make sure you have a valid email address and enable two-factor. We have a tutorial on how to enable two-factor.
Here's a question about two-factor.
Ask me.
Okay, so some people in the past had SMS two-factor. I've heard that we've kept those accounts, but any new ones we're using the tools, the
Right.
the
TOTP.
TOTP.
One-time, time-based, one-time
So
password
a lot of people use
generator.
Authy. They use Google Authenticator.
Yeah.
Or others.
We also made one with an ESP32 with an OLED. So you don't even have, if you don't have like I didn't have a phone and I needed a TOTP thing, you can make one with an Arduino and a little display. And we don't use SMS anymore. One, because people who are international had trouble with SMSs. And sometimes SMSs got charged, sometimes they wouldn't come through, and they can be spoofed. The TOTP type two-factor is free. It's available on every platform. You don't need a phone. There are apps that run on a computer. Somebody has a command line tool that they wrote that you can just like type it on your Linux, whatever. It's available, and I also published again some Python code if you want to just run a Python script with the time and the hash. Okay, so that's a two-factor.
What else?
So number one, why are we doing this, and why don't we just allow the bots to buy up the stock and set a market price that matches supply and demand? This was actually a very common.
Why don't we just send out copies of Atlas Shrugged?
Well, so this isn't. It's not a bad question, and I get what people are asking. They're like, let the market decide. But the problem is that the market right now is really screwed up because. Normally, if there was high demand for Raspberry Pis, the Pi Foundation would just make more Raspberry Pis to meet the demand. But the problem is that we can't meet the demand because there's a very serious silicon chip shortage. So we can't make more Raspberry Pis than there are. I mean, they're making a lot, but they can't fulfill the demand. And people are taking advantage of this by selling them on auction sites. And we've actually matched up, like somebody's placed an order for like 10 Raspberry Pis.
Yes.
And then we like look up the email address and it's like, hi, I have, a Facebook or eBay
They're
account.
selling them on eBay for
like $150.
$300 or $400 now.
It sucks. So we want to make sure. So we have had a one per customer limit, but what people do is they would make multiple orders over and over and over again using guest accounts, and they would just like order 20 in a row, and it's like that's not what one per customer means. I think you guys know what it means. So we're only fulfilling the thing that we said we would do, which was limit one per customer. And some of these were not truly bots. I think like we say bots, people know what we mean, but some of them were really just individuals that would just constantly place multiple orders over and over again. I think they were tool assisted, but they weren't like literally a script. And then we added today, what does the Pi Foundation think about this? And ZDNet did a quick article about this, which mostly is just about the fact that we are requiring two-factor, and they interviewed Eben, and Eben says, this is just like the graphics cards that people can't get right now. There's people taking advantage of market shortages. This is parasitic behavior. It's great to see people like Adafruit taking measures to stop it.
Thank you, Evan.
So thank you, Eben, for being supportive. Eben has been really helpful. I know that they're making Raspberry Pis as quickly as possible. And the Pi Foundation, the goal of the Pi Foundation is to get these low-cost computers to students, to makers, to hackers, to kids, to people who want to explore. It's not. It should not turn into some sort of like NFT-like thing where people are like selling futures of Raspberry Pis and nobody's actually using them. We want people to use them.
We wanted to figure out a way to make it fair and also secure and also just stop some of the automation that's out there.
Yeah.
And so far, by the way, I guess I could just say, has it been working? Yes. So far,
How
so-
effective
yeah.
is this? It seems like it won't work and can be easily bypassed. This is actually also a really common thing. People are like, TOTP is like, again, you can calculate it with a Python script in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So how would this
Trivial
really...
to defeat,
It's
my
trivial.
lady.
It's trivial to defeat, my lady. But actually, it works really, really well. Why? I'm not actually 100% sure because, again, it is something that can be automated, but I think it's just one of those things where, you just have to make it a little bit harder than people who are doing automated purchases are willing to do. Eventually, yes, they'll catch up to the idea, or whatever tool they're using will automate the TOTP login. But the fact of the matter is that, this is only one piece of it.
And we're not done yet. We'll, of course, continue to review the orders.
Yeah.
We'll, of course, to make sure it's as fair as possible. The good news is the educators, the people who need these for really important things have all let us know, hey, thank you so much. I finally was able to
they're actually getting
Yeah,
it.
and so we continue to do this. We'll rinse and repeat. We'll continue to iterate. And I think that's actually the other thing is the people who are really motivated, they're just going to move on from Adafruit and go to the sites that aren't doing this, that don't have these things. So I think based on today's news and stores
Yeah.
and other companies that are part of this community too, they're probably going to start implementing something like this as well.
Yeah, this is just one, it's like a multi-pronged approach. This is, and we started with just verified accounts, and then we added 2-factor, and of course we also have humans that, we have one human who listens to a lot of, detective podcasts, so they're like really good at like matching up people who are trying to get around the one per customer. And we're canceling and voiding and banning people who are taking advantage and abusing the system. But having the 2-factor and verified account is making it so we can actually do that. Like before, we were getting the 300 would sell out in like 2 minutes. We never even had a chance to review the orders. They came in so quickly. Now they're coming in, and we're able to review them as they come in and get them shipped
Yeah,
same
the people
day.
who need them have been able to get them. They make their accounts in advance. They have 2-factor authentication set up. When we're able to put in stock, they get notified. They're able to purchase them. And like someone said in the chat, the scalpers who do sports tickets and concerts, they don't like things like this, but the general population likes things like this because they're able to actually get tickets, and they're not ending up paying 10 times the amount. And that's what's happening with Raspberry Pis right now. Something that's supposed to be $35, people are selling for $400 or $500. That's not okay.
Yeah, stupid. Okay, next up, why are we releasing stock? Why not release them all at once? That's a good question. We actually have quite a bit of back stock, but we didn't want to put it all in for 3 reasons. So we're putting them in batches, about 300 per batch. One, we want to make sure that we have time to review the orders and ship them out in reasonable time. If we put in 5,000 Raspberry Pis and they sold out, even if they sold out in like 2 hours, it would take us a couple days or a week to ship them all out. That's not fun, and we'd have to review the order. So we're doing it in batches. Again, don't worry, there's not going to be a lot of Raspberry Pis, so we'll be able to spread this out over time. If somebody isn't at their computer, they'll have a shot later because there isn't like this one single hour in which all the Raspberry Pis are sold. And also we want to see how these automated or semi-automated purchasers are responding to every time we add another, layer of difficulty or a restriction, and we're kind of observing how they're evolving their behavior and putting up barriers, some of which you'll see and some of which you won't. There could be IP-based, of course there's email-based, address-based, basically
freight forwarder scanning to make sure these aren't going to some place where they're getting shipped to another place. Yeah, we do a lot.
Yeah, so we're observing it. Okay, cool. And then similarly, somebody asks, why does you sometimes put 1 or 2 in the store? What you're seeing is when we have canceled an order or voided an order, either because something went wrong or because we detected someone who was trying to take advantage of purchasing more than one, it automatically gets returned into stock. We don't usually notify people, but it might just sort of like pop into stock, just 1 or 2 at a time. It's just the way of our automated, when we cancel an order, it automatically gets entered into the stock system, and so you'll just see 1 or 2 pop up. That's not us restocking, that's just a cancellation. And we don't email. Next up, I signed up to be notified by email when the Pis go in stock, but I'm not being notified. So we have a big back in stock notification list because we keep all the notifications. However, the way we do it is it would be really silly if we notified 4,000 people when we put in 200 Raspberry Pis. Like that would just cause a feeding frenzy. It would be super unfair because a lot of people would have no shot. Like there's just too many subscriptions for the number. So what happens is that for every time we put in 300 units, we notify about 300 people, then we wait a few minutes, and then we notify another 300 people. And this gives some folks a chance. Again, if you're not in front of your email, of course, you're not going to get it, and we do sell out in 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but at least that way you have a shot. So if you haven't gotten notified, you will on the next round. And if you did get a notification and you missed because you were away from your desk, you were going to the bathroom, you were eating a taco,
or both at the same time,
or all three things,
one after the other.
Gen Z's like that. Put yourself on the list, and we'll notify you again. Or of course, subscribe to some of these RSS or Twitter bots. We already answered this. Why are we not using SMS? SMS isn't secure. It's a spoof. It can be expensive. It's annoying. It's not reliable. TOTP doesn't require a third-party service. Again, it's only based on the time and this little.
You don't need to use a separate app for each website either, because you can use TOTP.
I like Authy, Twilio Authy, but again, there are dozens and dozens of applications, or you can just write your own. Okay, and then finally, my favorite. This is not a question; it's more of a comment. Why don't you just do what I tell you to do to solve this problem? So there's a lot of armchair philosophizers and coders who have ideas of how they think it would be really easy to stop this problem. In some situations it could be, and one thing that's important is that the way that we're approaching this is not by me dictating to everybody at Adafruit how I want it done, or Phil. This is a team effort, so the developers and us and the people who do the shipping and the people who do the email support, we all got together and we chatted about how we want to do it that makes it easy for everybody, because it's not fair if we do something that the developers think is easy but is a ton of work for the email supporters.
One thing I should mention is when we talk together as a team, we always say, let's do something that doesn't hurt ourselves. So it wouldn't be fair to one team at Adafruit if it made their job easier, but it made someone's job even harder. And so we figure out I like that we all have different opinions, because it means we have all the different angles covered and we work well together. So like Lamar was saying, the shipping team participates with this, the dev team participates with this, the new product team participates with this, the community support and publishing team participates with this, the community participates with this, even Twitter participates with this. But in the end, we really want to make sure we take care of our team. And I believe if you take care of your team, the customer feels it and knows it. And that's what's happening right now. Like, because we have empathy for one another, that's spilling off into the customers being able to get these. So that's really important. I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is also a business lesson. Maybe one day this will be like a class.
There are, and look, I know that there's companies out there that sell Raspberry Pis, and they're like, well, a sale is a sale. I make the $55 no matter who buys it, so who cares? Again, like, why even have a limit? Somebody wants to come along and buy all 500 if they're willing to pay $55 a piece, great, not a problem. But Adafruit as a team decided, what can we do that will make us feel good about our decisions? So we, believe me, we discussed in detail all sorts of ways, back orders and Steam Deck-like reservation systems, passworded checkouts, custom tokens on every notification email that expire after an hour. Like, we really went through everything, but it's a lot of what we decided is, what can we implement that is not going to be a lot of work that we then have to maintain, that could have bugs, that could have issues. Like, we wanted to do what is something that is simple and that we could try out, and if it's effective, it's good. So that's why we are going with something which seems very simplistic, but again, at this time is working quite well. We're going to, of course, keep an eye on this. If we have to change techniques to stay ahead of it, we will. People ask me, when is this silicon shortage going to be over? And I'm telling them it's 18 months. That's the word of Ladyada and Bunny, because I chatted.
I wouldn't bet against you.
Me and Bunny both agreed. If
yeah.
we both agree on something, it's happening. So 18 months is how long it's going to take until the shortage is over. I don't know if it's going to go back to normal, but it's just something to keep in mind with. So, the Raspberry Pis are the first thing that we're putting this in kind of control.
There'll be more.
There'll probably be other things. We might have to do this with microbits. They're also very hard to get right now.
Here's news from the future. In every single website you use will have two-factor authentication, because you'll have to. This is just, it's coming.
It's a good idea anyways.
It's coming. It's a good security practice, and out of all the, so passwords are eventually going to leak. There's all sorts of things that are just going to happen. So I'm thankful that we're also able to encourage good security hygiene as well. So that's our story. This will change over time. We're going to continue to be transparent and open every step of the way. We wanted to spend a bunch of time on it this week because it's a little new for some people, but also for the people that are in the industry, they also know, good idea, this is smart, this is also encouraging good security, good on you, Adafruit. And we didn't coordinate with Raspberry Pi, we didn't know ZDNet talked to Eben, so thank you so much, Eben, for the kind words and support, because we kind of go out on a limb sometimes because we try to do the best thing for our team and the best thing for the community. You always don't get to coordinate with every other company in the world, so we appreciate the support.
I also have a lot of sympathy for our customers. I know it's frustrating. A lot of people want to build projects with Raspberry Pis, and it's really depressing to see folks take advantage of that situation. I mean, I get it. There's people who they want to make a living, and it's like, hey, they can make some money. We're selling stuff on auction sites or on Facebook or Amazon, but
that's fine.
I don't feel like I have to help them though.
I think because of the type of product and who it's going for, these are education. Maybe skip this one. Maybe do the Stream Decks. Maybe do other things. Maybe do like the PlayStations, but maybe not like stuff to teach computer science to young people for the low cost that allows many people to get it. Just saying, just an idea.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the update. So we'll keep you guys updated on it. We're trying our best. I'm sorry if you don't get a Raspberry Pi 4. We really are putting a lot of effort into trying to make it fair for everybody.
Yeah, that's our promise. We'll always do the best thing possible, the most empathy and the most help and support for our team and for you out there, the community and the customers who are buying stuff. There's always a series of compromises that you do to make everything work out. So thank you for sticking with us and the patience and support. I think I've been saying a lot tonight.
Thank you, my lady.
Yeah, thank you, my lady. All right, RetroTech. Let's look at old stuff.
Yeah.
Let's look at old stuff that's old. That's a simpler time, a happier time. So Jepler, who's in the chat, filmed this video. I think it's his friend, and it's a really cool old setup. So let's play this video.
Hey Craddock, what's this?
Hey, this is my MSI. It has ROM at 8000. It's running from ROM. Here's the program.
Your paper tape wasn't in frame, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. I'm putting it in the tape reader. Come look at that.
So what's this on the screen?
That's Intel X from the paper tape. And now, this is stop. Go to the beginning of memory, all zeros. Clear the screen and hit run.
Hello world!
Hello world!
Okay, next up on RetroTech. I guess this is a quest for the community. So Kelly Heaton posted this cover up from Elector magazine from 1979, and we're all trying to find who the cover artist is. This is when electronic magazines did stuff like this. What a world this was. It was the summer of '79, and it was electronics, and it was gardens, and it was
Look at how
plants.
beautiful this cover is.
And so I saw the low-res version. I'm just like, well, I'm never going to figure this out. But then someone scanned it up and put it on their website, and it was a pretty high-res one. So Tom Gilders? Tony Gilders? I don't know. But if someone could check it out, you could look at Kelly's Twitter, and you can find this. Email me. I'll send you some links. Yeah, like I found, this is as high as res as I could find. But check this out. So, and if anyone has a copy of this, you might have it. I did find a fully scanned version of this, and they don't list who the cover artist is. So, I mean, someone out there knows who this is. It's either Tom or Tony, or I don't know.
Well, Elector was British.
Yeah.
European.
But this is beautiful. Okay.
And check out the Elector logo at the top. There's like the diode made out of the K.
And then there's a version of Elector with, instead of O, there's two U's. Elector. Yeah.
Hot.
Next up, more RetroTech. So this is a Radio Shack phone from the 90s. And I would say if we had to show a picture of something and say what is the 90s, it might look like this.
This is very 90s.
So this was called the pallet phone. And,
This
looks
is
like
something
a
you
pallet.
absolutely used after taking a lot of cocaine. Like you'd call your friends up and say, let's go to the club.
She took you to the club.
Was this like a prop from American Psycho?
And it also looks like an icon from like Next Step. I mean, like, would you like to call a pallet?
I like how there's like 2 buttons that don't do anything.
Well, yeah, but you had to have the colors though.
Yeah.
So they do a nice Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. Next up, this is a pretty rare thing. It's not the Open Source Association logo or the Flash Enable logo or the logo that eventually turned into the open source hardware logo. It is the salesperson set of Cray computers.
So they just go around and be like, this is a Cray, buy it.
They couldn't haul them around because they were so gigantic. So they're like, hey, you want to spend $1 million on this thing? Here's a little set. And the salesperson would go out and show, this is what you could put in your, I don't even know if they were called data centers then.
Your data room.
It's a Cray for ants. And so this is pretty rare. This is part of the Adafruit collection. And it's the Cray salesperson demonstration set. And it's to scale so you can decide how you would build this. A lot of places used to have scale models of their buildings because we didn't do 3D rendering, so you had this balsa wood model, and you would put this in there like a little computer dollhouse and be like, oh, this is where we're going to put the 100 megabyte drive. That's the size of a car. Okay, and then last up this week is, speaking of Next, this is a pretty rare one. This is the Next promotional catalog item. So back when Apple jettisoned Steve Jobs, he went off to do another computing company called Next. And this is basically my collection book of things that I've been trying to get over the years. And now I have the promotional thing. So you can get a Next watch, you can get a Next towel, you can get a Next calculator, you can get a Next keychain. Next eventually got folded back up into Apple. And a lot of the things that you use on a modern Apple computer, including your iPhone, is based on the things from Next. But a little bit of a
Next sweater.
Yeah, Next sweater. One of the things I noticed in its swag from these companies, no socks, no Apple socks, and no Next socks. So I'll be scanning this in. I'll be putting this on archive.org for people to see. If you have any of this stuff and you want to give it to me, let me know. And here's the old order form.
Send it in.
Okay.
COD.
Python on hardware time. Ladyada, we are doing a bunch of stuff in the world of Python on hardware. We saw that you can have communities on Twitter and name them. So we'll be getting the word out about that later. Circuit Python will be a community on Twitter. And the way it works is when you're in the community, when you reply to all of the people in it, only they see it, but you can still get to the tweets with the direct URL.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
And you can do moderation. There's community rules, code of conduct.
There's Maker Hour, which is very similar, but it's like they use a hashtag. So this is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in the newsletter this week, and it's a lot of stuff that needs a deep dive, as they say. So there's proposed Python library deprecations. There is our
They're
update.
keeping Turtle.
Yeah. There is a debate about if something is open source or not, and the court case that went along with it, or the not court case that went along with it. There is an interesting article and idea, maybe change the default password on Raspberry Pis. So there's a bunch of stuff, and there's so much stuff that you need to subscribe to the newsletter. You need to go to Adafruit Daily to do it. There's a ton of hardware projects, but this week I wanted to spotlight all the shows that are going on. So a little bit of a reminder, Scott is having a kid, so we have Tim Foamy Guy taking over Deep Dive with Scott every single week.
And he gets a new logo.
Friday at 2 p.m. And check out this rad sub. So you
So
can see
cool.
Tim and you can see Blanca. And then every single week we have Circuit Python segments on JP Show. So I wanted to do a reminder and also play the Parsec during this segment. So go to Adafruit Daily, go there, adafruitdaily.com. You get the newsletter delivered to your mailbox. Bing. This is what it looks like. Bing. And you can subscribe to all these shows, whatever way you subscribe to things with videos, but you also get the newsletter highlight. Take it away, JP.
For this week's CircuitPython Parsec, I wanted to show you a little trick you can do with swapping out colors in an image palette using display I/O. I'm just using the Adafruit image load to load this BMP image up on screen. But the trick, the thing I wanted to show you here, I'm going to uncomment my code and resave it to the board. And now what you're going to see is it's going to go through and one by one replace each color in the palette with green. You can pick any color you want. You can do more sophisticated things. But here what you'll see is just every time it loops through, it's going to display the original image for a second, and then it's going to start just making its way through the palette and switch the palette value for green. If I change this out, we can do something like, let's say red. It's not quite as visible actually because this starts out as an orange image. But you can see there, one by one, each of those colors changing. And this is a really neat trick. It's something that has its roots in video game art, using palettes to swap how things look so that you don't have as many big heavy assets in your scene was a common trick. If you take a look at the code here, we're doing an image load, we're setting up some display I/O stuff, and then this function here, image and palette, are cast into this Adafruit image load, and then the name of your BMP image. Sets up the bitmap as a tile grid image using a pixel shader based on the palette. And then in the main loop, what I'm doing is grabbing that palette, and then one by one I go through however many colors are in the palette. And I'm saying take each one, starting on the first one, and replace it with whatever color I've picked. So if we go in here and change this to blue, let's say. So now what you'll see is it just goes through one at a time, changes it, takes a little a moment there, and then it holds that image for a second and repeats it. And so that is how you can replace the colors in an image with a specific color using display I/O's palette shaders. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec.
Okay, Ladyada, we are an open source hardware company.
It's true.
There's a bunch of stuff going on. There is so much stuff going on, it's hard to keep track of. However, bit of a reminder, everybody, it's Arduino Week. Happy Arduino Week, everyone. Arduino is doing something a little bit different this year. They have a series of live broadcasts every single day. Go to arduino.cc, check it out. So far, here's a screenshot from my playlist. They're on day 3, so tomorrow's day 4. So the first one was day 1, opening, artificial intelligence. Day 2, all things IoT. Today was day 3, home automation. Check it out. What's cool about this is you can go back and watch all the videos later. And then if you're like me, you have a separate account on YouTube where you just have playlists that when you get to it, you could just sit there and let it play. And if you could stay awake, you can watch it, but at night I get tired and I fall asleep. But then when I'm awake again, I just go back to the last place I remember. So that's how I'm getting through some of these. The opening was really good, and they had a bunch of stats. They're also doing some open source documentation now. They put stuff on GitHub. So if you want to catch up in the world of Arduino, go for it. Speaking of repositories and GitHub, we have a lot. We have a few thousand. And GitHub turned on a cool new feature today. Go to github.com/Adafruit, and you'll notice a little thing in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, here's the thing.
You can hit follow.
Do you want to cosplay as me? Do you also want to be subscribed to about 1,700 different repos? Follow the Adafruit organization. You can see what my inbox is like every single day.
Yeah.
Also, you can see what we're up to. New repos, so you can see stuff coming up soon, bug fixes, releases, patches,
Yeah.
and more.
And, you know, we work in the open, so if you want to know all the things we're working on, this is a good way to do it. And if you're someone who doesn't even code, or you want to code, or you just want to, or maybe you're an expert coder and you want to help in this open source community, click follow. Give us a follow. You can always unfollow. All right, we have 2,643 guides.
You have a lot of guides.
We have as many guides as repos.
That's right.
What's on the big board this week?
Okay, well, we've updated a couple guides. The Feather Huzzah ESP8266 guide, that's been updated by Brent. We now have a whippersnapper, no-code IoT getting started guide page added. Added to the guide, nouns. From Known Pedro, we have this really cool chaos, like 3D printed chaos emerald. If you're excited for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, you want to run around with your own chaos emeralds. You can 3D print them and then use Bluetooth to change the color of the glowing emerald. We've got the Breakbeat breadboard. That's a collab between JP and Toddbot. You can make your own Amon Break audio mixer using RP2040 and CircuitPython. I published a guide on the new QT Py ESP32C3. It's a RISC-V based Wi-Fi board, very exciting. Got some guides for some new products. Liz Clark is helping out with some product guides. She did a great job for the VL53L4CD time of flight distance sensor and the MCP23017. Both these are I2C devices. Great for adding time of flight distance sensing and GPIO expansion to your microcontroller boards. We also have an update, as you have heard, to our two-factor authentication. We kind of went through, we cleaned up some links. People were confused that Authy was purchased by Twilio, so we've clarified that. We've updated that FAQ page. And my favorite guide this week is from Eva, who made the coolest, most gender dysphoric curing shark ever. She's got a prescription for estradiol and a shark, and she's having a good time. Check out this guide, which will you can turn it into an alarm clock. Of course, this is good for any kind of stuffed animal that you want to turn into alarm. But we just thought it'd be really fun to take this
That's right.
internet famous shark and stuff it full of electronics.
Get it while you can at IKEA if they're still gonna.
Yeah,
stock the shark.
and maybe you can write some code for it too.
Yeah.
So
All right, that's our guides for the week.
there you go.
Okay, we're going to do some 3D printing next. We're going to play these back to back. Noah and Pedro, take it away.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project, we're making a Chaos Emerald inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog. These emeralds are 3D printed and feature NeoPixel LEDs in Adafruit Circuit Playground. We designed 3 different sizes so they can be made on a wide range of 3D printers. There are 2 halves that snap fit together and have a special mount for the Circuit Playground. A 500 mAh LiPo battery is hidden underneath and plugs directly into the board. The LEDs are nicely diffused, making the whole thing light up nice and bright. With CircuitPython, you can easily customize the code to make the LEDs have different colors. If you have the Circuit Playground Bluefruit, you can use the mobile app to change the color of the LEDs over Bluetooth. The color picker lets you change the colors and brightness so you can easily adjust the look of the emerald. We think this is a great way to control your props without having to take them apart. CircuitPython makes it easy for folks who are just getting started and looking to get their projects quickly up and running. The emeralds are 3D printed without any support material using translucent PLA filament. It's often called natural clear or Avery white, but it's really the translucency that makes good diffusion. The battery is placed inside the 3D printed mount in between the standoffs. The board snap fits into the mount with the tabs grabbing onto the edges of the PCB. A separate bracket is attached to the mount using screws and hex nuts. The bracket is placed over the standoffs and gets secured with additional machine screws. This keeps the board suspended inside the emerald and allows the light to spread. The bottom half can then be lined up with the top half and they just snap fit together. We hope this inspires you to check out CircuitPython and Adafruit's Circuit Playground. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more projects from Adafruit.
NPI time.
on NPI.
This week's Eye on NPI is brought to you by DigiKey, and it's from TDK.
That's right. TDK makes some cool sensors. Checking out what the latest new products are from DigiKey, and I saw this nice sensor, and I thought I would show it off. It is the TDK AVD differential pressure module, and what I like about this is I love my sensors, but sensors are kind of a pain to use sometimes and tough to mount and tough to interface with. And what I liked is this is a really all-in-one, ready-to-go, like board-mountable module that makes it very, very easy if you want to add differential pressure sensing to your product or project and you just don't want to deal with spinning up a board. You want something ready to go with I2C for really quick integration. So this is the series. The part number is quite long, but I call it the ABD series. So these are differential pressure sensors. So what would you want differential pressure sensing for? Well, normally we show off non-differential pressure sensors, and those are, of course, good for if you are trying to measure pressure in a cavity. They're good. They're also good for determining altitude. How far you've moved up and down, because pressure changes with altitude, and you can, if you subtract the sea level pressure, you can determine how high up you are. So they're used for drones and robotics, watches that tell you how many steps you've taken, stuff like that. Differential pressure sensors are different. These tend to be used for industrial equipment, and in specific, a very common example is you have a HVAC system, and the HVAC system has a filter. Chances are you have an HVAC system, and there's a filter in it, and the filter keeps dust out of the HVAC, so it keeps the HVAC motor from getting clogged with dirt, and of course keeps your air clean too. It's a nice filter for your air. But the filter gets clogged up with dirt and dust, and then the HVAC has to work harder and harder and harder to push air through the filter. And you're supposed to check your filter every 6 months, and yeah, sure, but one, you could forget, or second, maybe you have a building that's so large that it's hard to check the filters all the time. Well, a differential pressure sensor, you'd put each prong on one of the sides of the filter, and you would notice that the pressure would be much higher on the side that's trying to push the air through the filter. And that differential is what is making it difficult for the HVAC system to work. Once it triggers past a certain pressure threshold, maybe you would send an SMS, or maybe it would turn on LED or turn on an alarm telling you, hey, it's time to change the filter. So it's the common use for differential pressure sensors. Sometimes it can also be used for telling how much liquid is in a vat, by measuring the differential pressure from inside or outside, enclosed vat. But yeah, basically that's what it's used for, a lot of industrial measurements, not necessarily for altitude measurements. So this sensor, like I said, what's very nice is that it has I2C data out. You basically don't even have a register map. You just read 4 bytes from it, and it just spits out the data, and you just have to shift the data around. There's a little algorithm that tells you how to multiply it out and how to linearize it. There's 2 connectors, so you don't even need to solder. They're JST SH 5-pin connectors. There's an interrupt telling you when data is ready. I didn't use that. I just connected up ground, power, clock, and data. And wired up to Arduino, wrote the code for the algorithm on the right, and it just worked. It was actually pretty sweet. Here's the code, and I'll show the demo on the overhead. But you can see it's very short. A lot of it's just shifting a couple of things, doing a few multiplies, and spits out the temperature and pressure. Since it's differential, you'll have to determine what is the max pressure difference you're going to have in your system. This comes in 3 types. Oh, can you expand it so I can read it? Because I think it's 210. Sorry, on the right it says 1.6 kilopascals, 10 kilopascals, and 700 kilopascals. So depending on the pressures you're measuring, you'll pick different ranges to get the most accuracy and precision. What I like about this sensor is it's a module. Especially if you want to install this in some sort of HVAC filter system and then run the cable for data to someplace else. It's also daisy chainable. If you want to have multiple sensors, you can do that. But it's ready to go. It's a kind of a fully integrated, slim module that's that can be, it's injection molded and ready to be installed into your whatever measurement system you've got. There's also a step 3D model, and it's nice. It's even got all the coloring for the module and all that. And best of all, it's
Available in
stock.
DigiGay. And it's in stock.
It's in stock. So let's show the demo real fast. I just put together. It was like so easy. It took me less than an hour to do this. I've just got my little microcontroller set up here. Let me focus lock. Okay. I got the OLED, and this is differential. So remember, it's not doing the absolute pressure. It's doing the pressure difference between the two prongs. That's why you see it's 0. But if I plug up one, you'll see it's going into negative pressure. And if I plug the other one, it goes into positive pressure. So this is not calibrated. I basically just got the data out, and this is what popped out. But it was very easy to wire it up. I just connected it through I2C. Verified the address, read the data, and then calculated out.
And then here's one quick question. Is it precise enough for
A pitot tube?
tube?
It's 14 bits of data. I don't know off the top of my head what the pressure differentials are for a pitot tube because I've never flown before. But pilots out there, if any of you know, pop in the chat and say what the differential pressure is. But it's quite good. I mean, this is basically, a lot of people use analog differential pressure sensors, and you can use them, but they're kind of a pain to use. And if you want to integrate this with something like a single board Linux computer, like a Raspberry Pi that you can't buy, I2C will just work. Whereas with analog, it's like suddenly you're getting into like, okay, you have to have an analog front end, and you have to do the calculations, and there's more wiring. This is very plug and play, like, no external components required.
Okay. And that is this week's Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
All right, Ladyada, just a reminder, the code is 2FACT. Use it or lose it. I'm probably going to crash out, but, it'll probably be on until midnight. Let's do new products.
That's right.
You ready?
It's new.
Okay, let's zip through these revisions.
I know, so many revisions. Okay, a lot of these are updates. So QT Py ESP32S2, it's an adorable little Wi-Fi microcontroller with the ESP32S2 microcontroller and a UFL connector, so you can connect any kind of antenna you like. This is now revised. It now has much better deep sleep performance. So if you are needing deep sleep performance at 70 microamps, we fixed it. It's ready to go, and you can pick it up. So next up, we have revised the ADXL 345. This is like one of the first products we put in the shop, the ADXL 335 and 345. We've been STEMMA QTifying all of our boards to make them plug and play, no solder required. This board is the latest to get the revision. It's the same schematic, same functionality, same library, but no soldering required because it's got STEMMA QT connectors. So a lovely QTification. Next up, another revision. The CP2104 has been discontinued and can't get it anymore. It's been replaced with the CP2102, which is very much like, but not exactly the same schematic. And so the Bluetooth sniffer board has been revised. It made a couple other little tweaks. This now uses CP2102. It's just a great little tool for sniffing BLE connections with Wireshark and doing debugging and analysis on unencrypted BLE messages and advertisements. So check it out. Works exactly the same as before. It just has a new chip, and we just kind of cleaned up the schematic a little bit.
Okay.
Another revision, similarly, the Pi UART, also the CP2104 based board. I really liked the CP2104. Quite sad that it got discontinued. But, we revised this for the CP2102. It's a little board that goes onto your Raspberry Pi, gives you a UART connection, plug and play, and of course you could also power the board, and now it's got a USB-C connection. Upgraded it. One of those things, if I'm going to revise a board, I might as well revise the whole thing. So updated it from micro B to USB-C. Here's just showing the previous version on a Pi Zero. I just found this really handy for I want to power and send and receive data from the serial console on a Pi. This board will do the job.
Okay, and the stars of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our team, our community, our customers, is?
The Solar Bug Kit from Brown Dog Gadgets. Brown Dog makes some really cool, fun toys and kits for students and young kids that want to learn making electronics. These no solder projects are great for classrooms, for rainy days, for sunny days, actually. This one is good for sunny days. And this one is you make these little like bugs, and you have a little motor and a solar panel. And when you put them outside, the little bugs, they get energy from the solar panel and they start jittering around like creepy little bugs. Who doesn't love bugs? So there's a 4-pack, which is good for a small family or a kid who likes to make a lot, and a 25-pack that's really good for like birthday parties, classrooms, camps. You're somehow stuck with 25 kids and you really need to entertain them 15 minutes. This will do the job. And we've got one built here, and I've got a lamp. I'm going to try to do a live demo.
Okay.
This might just run off of the...
All right, so.
Okay, so this is the oh.
Yeah, well, I was going to show, you want to turn on the lamps?
No, because I want to show this beforehand, and then I'm going to show this. Okay, so there's a solar panel here, and then it's taped onto, you can see there's a little motor. This is a pager motor, vibration motor, no soldering. And then you actually use these googly eyes as like a little like slider thing.
Oh, okay.
And then I've got this lamp. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so whee!
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've just got this little lamp pointing at it. And the sun, of course, is going to be even more active. But no batteries required. It just kind of moves around.
We built a small sun just to demonstrate this.
I know. So a fun project.
Let me show you what's going on this side here.
Yeah, hi. I just got a lamp.
Daystar.
Daystar. It's not even that great of a lamp, to be honest. But a fun little project. So, you know, if you want to do like solar bots kits, but you don't even want to, sorry, it's my couscous. You don't even want to do any soldering. This takes like 2 or 3 minutes a piece to make, and it runs forever.
That's the products. Okay, we're going to do questions. Go over to Discord, put them there. I saw a couple in some other chats. We'll try to get to those, but we're going to load up some top secret while the questions go over to Discord. So first up, Ladyada, you were working on this. What is this?
This is a magnetometer that you can buy. I cannot get any magnetometers. I ordered some a year ago, and they still haven't come in. We covered this on The Great Search a few weeks ago, is like, what can I get that would be a good magnetometer for an IMU? This chip that MMC 5603 came up, gonna make a little breakout for it, get into the store because it's a magnetometer and I can buy it.
Okay. Here's a little quick video that we made. This is the ESP32S2 that we're doing.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Hey, I am working today on an ESP32S3 feather. If anyone watching my little videos, you might be like, hey, wait, you made an S3 feather a while ago. Why are you working on it again? Well, the S3 Mini is the same pinout as the S2 Mini, and I recently just did a revision for the ESP32S2 feather to fix the power supply and deep sleep mode with another LDO. So when we did the last run of the S2, I just swapped out one board with an S3 module, and what's cool is since then, Arduino has added support for the S3 in a branch. And so I've got the NeoPixel going and I've got the board definition going. So far so good. So I'm going to order these PCBs this weekend because I got all the pins working, I2C, SPI, UART. It's all good. So this S3 is ready to order and get in the shop.
And you'll see some cool projects ahead. We're doing these 3D printed covers for graphic novels.
These are so cool.
This is a prototype that Pedro are working on. We're going to have a bunch of different ones that you can print out and not only protect your graphic novels, but display them really nicely. Phil B is working on this really cool thing. This is modeled after a very famous looking computer. I'll let the chat guess which one that is. And then we're doing some updates to PyLeap. We'll be able to load in a JSON file that'll display whatever latest guide that we have. And you'll instantly, with no code, be able to send off whatever project that you can see on your phone to a Bluetooth-enabled CircuitPython device.
Yeah.
And magically, but it's not magic, it's code that you can learn, or not. You don't even need to use a code. And get all these projects on your device instantaneously.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a future where students and kids do not have computers. They have phones and they want to write code. They want to explore engineering.
Or most people.
But they don't have a computer. And, a lot of schools, they have lockdown tablets or lockdown laptops. Isn't like when we were kids, when it was like, hey, everybody, you can do basically do whatever you want with the Apple IIs in the computer lab or the PCs. So if you only have a phone, how can you get people interested in coding and electronics? So PiLeap is our view of that. It's a totally wireless, totally cross-platform, no hardware, drivers required way of programming microcontroller boards.
Okay, let's do questions because top secret's over.
Okay.
All right, what was the name of the connector on the breakout board that used to be solderable? I think that was the question. It was from a while back.
The solderable.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to use the JST-SH. That's what we use on our STEMMA QT boards. So we use the 4-pin JST-SH.
Okay.
It's a 1 millimeter pitch connector.
Okay, next up. Someone had asked, is there a way to do, I'll just summarize because it was a pretty big chunk of question. Could we do batch deliveries? Like you could order a bunch of stuff in advance at Adafruit, and then whenever we got to it, we would ship. Now, the issue with that is it's a back order. And with the supply chain issues right now and shortages, what if it's 18 months? We wouldn't want to hold that payment for well over a year.
Also, it's just, it's we used to do back orders. I know this isn't quite back orders, but it's back order light. Honestly, just because it's so difficult stocking and making sure we have stuff that when you book an order, we really want to make sure that we ship it to you immediately, because what if we think we had it and we don't, and then you order other stuff, and then it turns out the other thing you don't have, and then you want to change your order. It gets really complicated
We would
really
end up
fast.
holding, your order, and things could potentially be discontinued by the time we ship it. So here's my suggestion right now. Sign up for the notifications on Adafruit, and then if you want to, use a reseller like DigiKey for some of that back order capability where when they get it in, it ships. That's kind of use the two sites, and it's fine to order from Adafruit, also fine to order from DigiKey. In fact, a lot of the products we have, when it's not in stock, it says buy from DigiKey, because they'll be able to handle a back order that maybe they'll be willing to hold on longer than we would be able to do.
Yeah, they're just set up for that. We're not.
Next up, question for the show. Adafruit created a beautiful ANCS, Apple Notification System, CircuitPython library and working code. While it was created for the NRF52840 chips, is there any way it could be ported to the ESP32 for CircuitPython, MicroPython, or an Arduino port made to support the Bluetooth ESP32?
I don't know if somebody's done an ANCS library for Arduino. I'm assuming that somebody has, so I would just Google for it. We haven't. I know that we have controller support for Bluetooth on CircuitPython for the ESP32 S3 and C3. So in theory, you should be able to connect to peripherals. So I think you can connect to your Apple Watch, but we haven't tested it. It's very new. I mean, we'd like to, but it's one of the things we haven't quite gotten to.
Yep. Okay. Next up, do you ever have to deal with mental burnout as an engineer? What do you do to cope?
Yeah, I did have burnout. I had burnout in October, and you can even see it on GitHub. I sort of just stopped doing as much stuff. I don't know. I don't really have a good answer to that. I think that you can't really force your way out of it, but I also think burnout isn't how much your workload is. Burnout is whether you are not getting good feedback for yourself from the work you are doing. It's more of an impedance mismatch, not the impedance itself. So usually burnout is a sign of something that's happening in your life that you need to pay attention to and resolve. But beyond that, you should talk to your therapist, because it's what that thing is, I don't know. I know exactly what it was in October that burnt me out. And actually had nothing to do with engineering, but the engineering, I couldn't get any engineering done because of it.
Okay. Is there a big difference between the S2 and S3?
For the ESP32 S3, it's got Bluetooth and it's got dual core. It's a big difference.
Okay. Question, I know a lot of common components are very available, chips and such, while many full boards like the Raspberry Pi are very scarce. Would you comment on the current state of supply chain issues as you understand them?
Yes, you are not going to be able to get parts consistently for 18 months. That's what I can say. Beyond that, I have no insight other than others. I'm just the lead times that I'm getting. Of course, getting one component can be easy, but if you have a board with, say, 50 components, and you can only get 49 of them, that stops you from building. And so it causes sort of like a traffic jam in your production schedule. And I think that's what everyone's dealing with is, what if you have everything except for one component? And that's happened to me for a lot of boards. It's like I'm just waiting for this one part, but that one part just isn't showing up. There's no replacement. I can't fabricate.
Okay, someone had suggestions. We do have saved wish lists. You can put things in your cart and save that. That's a good way to retain stuff. And then last question of the night, Ladyada, what is the product you use the most in your personal projects?
I just kind of use a classic Metro Mini. I actually like the Cutie Pie a lot. A lot of my, whenever, like you saw the little demo I built for INPI, I use the Cutie Pie. I love just plugging in an OLED and a sensor, and I'm ready to go. Like, no soldering. It's actually helped me develop a lot faster. Like, I was spending a lot of time with soldering headers and wiring stuff on a breadboard, and I could do it, but just being able to, like, plug something in instantly and not have to worry about being off by one has made projects a lot faster for me. So, the stuff that makes my life easier, I think, makes customers' lives easier.
I also like permaprotos.
I put my price too. Yeah, I use those a lot.
All right, well, that is our show for tonight, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there. Big, epic show tonight. We're exhausted. It was a day. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We very much appreciate it. Don't forget the code is 2FACT. Special thanks to Zay behind the scenes tonight in the Adafruit Slack, and then everyone in the community chats, YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Twitter, and also Discord. Of course, that's where we answer all the questions. And shout out to Mudge, who's watching tonight. Hey, Mudge.
Hey.
And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much for...
My sister watches sometimes too.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching the show. And maybe we can all think of ways to come together and build things, because everyone makes something. It's something that we all have in common. And we very much appreciate all of the support that you're giving us through the ups and downs of what planet Earth is right now. We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production.
Thanks,
Here
everybody.
is your moment of Zener.
Bye.